In the shadowy nexus where narcissistic power meets cult-like depravity, accusations from monsters like Trump aren't just deflections. They are confessions, unmasking a twisted elite world of control through rape, cannibalism, and blood rituals, echoing the horrors in the Epstein files where vulnerability is devoured to feed fragile egos. Hi, I'm Vanessa Reiser, a therapist specializing in narcissistic and cult abuse. Today, I'm unleashing a clinical deep dive into why cannibalism, yes, the literal and symbolic devouring of innocence, checks out psychologically. In the Epstein saga and the swirling accusations that elites are eating babies and drinking blood, I'm blending my rage at these boundaryless predators with the sharp intelligence we've honed from dissecting their games, all while igniting hope that exposure leads to healing. Let's tear this open. First off, every accusation from a narcissist is a confession. These mask-wearing manipulators project their darkest sins onto others because their fragile egos can't handle the mirror. Take Trump. He screams election fraud. You guessed it, he's the one stealing elections. He screams, but her emails about Hillary's emails. And now we see the Epstein files. It's just email after email, flooding us with the damn emails. And the whole oligarch sphere revealing networks of love bombing, future faking, withholding truths, taking collateral that could topple empires. It's classic narcissistic deflection. Gaslight the world into doubting reality while you hoard the real dirt. Rape isn't about sex. It's about power, control, domination, and erasing someone's autonomy. Cannibalism, in this elite context, follows the same playbook. This is why clinically it does check. It's not nutritional, it's psychological warfare. There are some reasons that cannibalism exists. If you're starving on an island somewhere and there's no resources, there's a possibility that you may engage in cannibalism as a means to survive. In the context of the Epstein files, they drip with accusation of elites harvesting youth, trafficking teens, forcing pregnancies, even whispers of fetal stem cells or blood rituals for eternal youth. Drinking blood, eating babies, these aren't fairy tales. They're power addictions. Narcissists like Epstein collected collateral through abuse, isolating victims in his cult of silence, then discarding them when spent. Survivors describe being treated like disposable vessels, love-bombed into compliance, then gaslit and smeared if they spoke up. It's cult abuse amplified. Enablers protect these abusers out of trauma bonds, whispering it's elite privilege, until disempowerment strikes and the pyramid crumbles. And this psyops is not a political issue because figures like Noam Chomsky, shown in the Epstein files, with documented meetings and discussions, same thing with Bill Clinton. Even if no direct wrongdoing is proven, we know that they are adjacent. We know that they are powerful elites. Two things can be true at the same time. We need to get Trump out of power to stop his immediate tyrannical grip, and we must investigate every single name in those files, no matter their ideology or affiliations. These networks transcend parties. They're oligarch cults, where power corrupts absolutely and selective outrage only protects the abusers. And let's zero in on Peter Nygard, that predatory fashion mogul rotting in prison for sexual assault and facing trafficking charges. This sociopathic monster intentionally impregnated women, including underage girls in some gut-wrenching claims, then paid for or forced abortions, harvesting stem cells from these aborted fetuses to inject, or in some reports, ingest or use into himself for anti-aging, longevity, or twisted health purposes. It's cannibalism cloaked in pseudoscience, devouring the unborn to cheat death, a boundaryless entitlement that screams no empathy, psychopathy. Nygard bragged about stem cell breakthroughs, treating women's bodies as factories. for his immortality fix, love bombing them with luxury, then withholding autonomy in the ultimate power play. This ties straight into Epstein's web, where elites like him networked with overlapping circles of exploitation, turning vulnerability into fuel for their fragile, aging egos. Look at Armie Hammer. Bragging about cannibalistic fantasies wasn't kink. It was sociopathic entitlement leaking out. As a power-driven predator, he embodies how we assess antisocial personality disorder, or psychopathy. In youth, it's harming animals, setting fires, or oppositional defiant disorder, which morphs into a full-blown empathy void. Hammer's messages screamed control, wanting to eat partners, to own them eternally. Trump? He's cut from the same ruthless cloth. He's remorseless. He's never even had a dog because he despises weak creatures. Vulnerability triggers his impulsive rage. Remember him mocking soldiers who got caught like John McCain? That's no empathy projection. Weakness is contemptible because it mirrors his own hollow core. He could have had a dog at the White House, even if just for optics. Handlers would do the work, but he doesn't care. Narcissists obsess over image, but Trump's psychopathic edge means he thrives on being oppositional, boundaryless, even obnoxious. He's not an Ozempic sculpting sexy Trump. Despite endless resources, he's ballooning into a fat, defiant mess, hyper-contrarian to flaunt power. I've even thought of him shitting himself in those rooms. I bet he does it on purpose. Passive-aggressive intimidation, forcing tolerance to feel godlike. He knows everyone around him is forced to sit in that stench, and it gives him a kick. I've thought about it. I'm not saying that's true, but I have thought about it. It's the ultimate withholding. Endure my filth. Dahmer ate people for the same rush, control over the uncontrollable. He couldn't tolerate the ego hit of someone leaving, so he devoured them to keep them forever, projecting his isolation onto victims in a smear of blood and silence. Trump's ego is identically weak, posturing as strong but crumbling at rejection. His eating the dogs and cats, those rants, confession city, likely nodding to the elite cannibalism whispers in Epstein's orbit, where devouring the innocent, babies, blood, symbolizes ultimate entitlement. And here's the kicker. He knows what he's doing. Because he cannot tolerate us leaving him at the end of this lame duck presidency, he will burn America to the ground if we don't put our proverbial feet on his throat and fight fire with him. How else do you take down a bully or a tyrant? We expose the gaslighting, dismantle the cult enablers, reclaim our boundaries, and I'm furious about these manipulative monsters. But that anger fuels intelligent resistance and hope. The world heals when we rise, empowered, turning their confessions into our revolution. Victims of narcissistic abuse know these crazy theories are true because we have seen behind the mask or veil and we know the depths of depravity firsthand. This is why so many of my followers, clients, friends, and anybody who has endured narcissistic abuse understands this playbook. This is why we're so enraged, because we know how the story ends. It is my supreme wish that people start to listen to victims of narcissistic abuse, sort of towing the line, screaming that this is a huge hazard. Stay raged, ready, and rooting for the collective rise.